Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the week again. Let's get it going, fellas. In the Huddle, episode 74. 74 episodes in the books, 10 weeks of football in the books, and we are here to talk about the hottest things from yesterday. I am Kenny C. Alongside me, per usual, is the real Lil, Cam Jones, and Zach Crow. What's going on?
Everything's going good, man. Every time we get here on the show at this time, I feel the momentum, I feel the energy, and I'm ready to get this show started. I just want to make one thing clear before we do start. I know a lot of people are Starbucks fans out here, but I got to be real with y'all. Dunkin' Donuts got the cake. All right, Dunkin' Donuts coffee, to be honest with you, in my opinion, is better than Starbucks, and we could debate about it after the show concludes.
Hey, man, just feeling good, man. Like I said, guys, it's always an honor and a pleasure being here. Episode 74, man. Wow, time is just flying on here. Just can't wait to talk football with you guys tonight. And Lil, Starbucks is better than Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh.
Yeah, I think for me, once again, just happy to be here with you guys. We're getting closer to that time of year where I think football is at its best. In the snow, playoff atmosphere, every game means more and more for each and every team. We're going to talk about in a bit, but the playoff race in both conferences are really heating up. So, happy to be here, and let's get to it.
Yeah, I got any choices from y'all? Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. I want to join the debate before the debates. But you going, Zach?
I think it depends. What I'm in the mood for. I'm thinking, on a hot day, a Coolata, I'll go with the Dunkin'. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a frap. I want a Starbucks. It's kind of here and there.
Yeah.
I respect it.
For me, I get coffee like every morning with my dad before work, and it's usually Dunkin', so I'm going to have to go with Dunkin'.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get it.
All right, fellas, let's kick things off, baby. Here we go.
In basketball terminology, that's what they call this. When somebody get dunked on. But it was on three people. It was they were in position. It was just a better catch by I.
Designed for me to get out left. They had a guy containing. Had to make him miss, and then as funny as it sounds, I felt like it was the only person I saw down there was Hop. Let it go, let him give him a chance, and it's funny. Everybody, all they saw was black gloves arising, from everybody. There was it was a group of 4 people, and all they saw was black gloves. So I'm just glad he caught the ball.
Kyler Murray connects with D-Hop on an incredible Hail Murray touchdown, and the Cardinals stun the Bills. Takeaways from this game, fellas, and reactions.
Wow, so this game was pretty crazy. I know we were all watching it, and I think obviously the first thing to come to mind is, wow, Kyler Murray, it's his world, and we're just living in it because that throw was absolutely incredible. I remember, watching the throw. He's at the 50-yard line. He chucks it up, and it kind of was reminiscent of Aaron Rodgers to Jeff Janis. I know that's a throw Kenny C in that same stadium, remembers for a good reason. But I think when you look at this game, man, I feel like we have to look at it with a lot of transparency. I feel like with number one, Arizona, it's a good win, and it's a win they really needed because they're going to be on Thursday Night Football next week in Seattle. And to be honest, even though everyone's going to say, oh, Kyler Murray, he played a great game, and he did, and Arizona definitely would not have won that game without him. I got to be honest with you guys, though, I'm kind of out on the Cardinals. I think they're a playoff team, and I feel they're a very good team, and Cliff Kingsbury deserves a lot of credit for the way his team has improved. But at the same time, I kind of hinted at it last week, I don't think you're a legitimate playoff contender if you lose at Carolina, home to the Detroit Lions, and then home to Miami. I know Miami's playing very well, but that was a game Arizona should have won. And then yesterday, to be honest, Arizona outplayed them the whole game. And then we're looking at it, Josh Allen hits Stephon Diggs, and I'm thinking to myself, here we go again with the Cardinals. Another game where Cliff Kingsbury outsmarts himself on the 3rd-and-1 plays, which I really didn't like. And I feel like that really ruined the rhythm and the flow of the game for his team. But his quarterback bailed him out. So I feel like everyone's going to say, oh, Arizona, they're a legitimate contender. Their defense is good. Kyler Murray, he's a star, and he is a star. And DeAndre Hopkins, that was an insane play. But I am not buying stock in the Cardinals right now.
Oh, okay. I would say this. Before we get to that Hail Mary play, I just want to give credit to my guy Larry Fitzgerald. All right, his presence alone, him being smart, not panicking in certain situations, is why I do believe this team has a chance, if anything. Because before that Hail Mary play, Larry Fitzgerald called the ball and he got a few extra yards before he ran out of bounds. I don't know if people peeped that, but I surely peeped it. He got an extra few yards. A lot of guys that catch the ball, oh, I got to get out of bounds. He made sure he knew the time in his head. According to Next Gen Stats here, Kyler Murray's Hail Mary throw to D-Hop had a 16.9% completion probability, which is the third most improbable throw of Murray's career. So that play right there is not even his hardest throw. And that tells me a lot about Kyler Murray. I got a few things to say about Kyler Murray in particular. Individually, I will bring that up later in this topic. But my biggest takeaway from this game is that the trade with D-Hop and the Cardinals and Stephon Diggs and the Bills, both of those trades were good trades, but it was on full display when these two brothers went up against each other last night. Both made spectacular plays. Stephon Diggs, he caught a ball right on the sideline, almost basically, over Patrick Peterson, who's an all-pro corner. Josh Allen was able to hit him on that play. He had 10 receptions on the day. Him and Beasley was like that going Shaq and Kobe. They was torching this Cardinals defense. That was a good pickup. He leads the league in receptions, has about 900 receptions after that game. D-Hop is second in reception on receiving yards, and it showed, man. That catch over 3 guys, that was a grown man play right there. In that trade, I don't know what caused Texans to do that dumb shit like I said before. This guy named Bill O'Brien was on shrooms, but I assume that was a great pickup by both teams. That's my biggest takeaway.
I must say, man, I just love yesterday's game. After yesterday's game, the Cardinals' defense is suspect, especially their pass defense. Yesterday they let Beasley and Diggs combine for 20 receptions for 200 yards on them. That's just terrible. You know what I mean? But I just like the urgency of the Cardinals, especially on the final seconds of the game. I feel like Murray did the best that he can to find his open receivers, clock the ball to stop the clock of the game. And on that last throw, man, I was pretty impressed. He gave it everything he got. And D-Hop, hey, he mossed these guys. And that play right there reminds me of them time when Megatron, if you guys don't know who Megatron is, Calvin Johnson. That's when
you should know Megatron is. Otherwise, don't watch the show. You don't know your damn football.
And when Matthew Stafford used to throw them deep balls to Megatron in triple coverage, that play right there reminds me of that so much.
To Zach's point with the Cardinals, man, him and I were on the Cardinals train for a little bit here, and I had a lot of faith in the way their defense looked against Seattle. And Murray, if you have Murray, he's going to keep you in every game, and that's what we saw yesterday against the Bills. In the third quarter, the Bills went stagnant. They were outscored 17-7. The Bills defense did make some good stops down the stretch in the fourth against Murray, but all in all, like Cam said, if you have Kyler Murray in the game, he's going to keep you in the game till the end, and they fought hard. And that play to me at the end was Aaron Rodgers-esque with the throw by Murray, like off balance, gets away from the sack, flings it, and then like Cam said, Calvin Johnson-esque with that catch by D-Hop. Incredible play. First half of the game was pretty slow, too. It was a field goals game. Tyler Bass hit like 3 54 and up yard field goals, which was pretty crazy to see. I think his third one was a 58-yarder. So it was pretty much a field goal game in the beginning. And then the second half was going to come down to which team can make the biggest play at the end. And I thought it was going to be the Bills. The 2-minute drill, Josh Allen since 2018 had 11 game-winning drives in the fourth quarter. I thought it was going to be 12. Leo and I were texting each other going crazy. Stephon Diggs, great catch, and then bang, Kyler Murray shows you why he's going to keep these cards in the NFC West race until the end. Even though his defense didn't play the best football, I do believe that Kyler Murray keeps it close against the Rams in Seattle for the rest of the season.
Again, my thing with Arizona is it's just in games where I feel like they really should win. Sometimes they don't always show up, and that's the sign of a young team that is good. But I feel like if you look at all the signs that they've showed me so far, I don't know if they're ready for primetime just yet.
I'm gonna say this, Zach, and we're gonna get to that later on when we do give our team that should be the favorites to come out of the NFC West. The one thing I'll say about the statement that you made, which is a fair statement to make, I feel the same way, is that when you look around the NFC West, it's a lot of uncertainty with both sides, with all three teams that's in the league right now. Can the Rams play offense? Can Seattle stop somebody? So we'll get to that point, but I want to pick up where we left off last week with the MVP. Now, I know we had a big debate. It got a lot of traction, a lot of comments, but I'm here to say that the ship of Russell Wilson, in particular, winning the award, has sailed.
Oh, he's
I
done.
actually have a new guy at number 1, and it's
Will's
not Pat
done.
Mahomes. And
Who
it's
could've
not
seen
Pat
that
Mahomes.
coming?
Pat Mahomes
There
is
it
right
is,
there.
Josh.
Pat Mahomes is right there. But it
coming?
has to be Kyler Murray for me right now.
Wow.
And let me tell you why. I have a
Wow.
lot of stats. All right, I have a Harry Potter book of stats right now that I'm gonna read to you. So fasten your seatbelts and buckle up, okay? First of all, I'm gonna start off with opinions, and then we're gonna get to the stats. This game yesterday was the game of the year, in my opinion. It was game of the year. What was the second game of the year? You can argue Cardinals versus Seattle. That was the second game of the year. So you have 2 games of the year played by the Cardinals with Kyler Murray in them winning both of those games. That showed you that the brother is clutch. Now, as we get into the stats right here, let's start off with this stat. First of all, against the Dolphins, even though they lost, Murray moved up on my list because he broke records. He was the first quarterback to throw for 275 yards, had I believe 100 yards rushing, something to that effect, and 3 pass touchdowns. Never been done. Now, yesterday was Murray's 5th straight game with a rushing score, the longest streak for any quarterback in the Super Bowl era. Right now, as it stands, Murray is on the cliff to surpass Lamar Jackson's MVP season last year. He already passed him in yards, throwing the ball, and touchdowns. So he already passed him there. He's the first quarterback in history with 2,000 pass yards and 500 rushing yards in his first 8 games of a season. My favorite stat that I look at when I talk about MVP, personally, Murray accounts for 76% of his team's offense, second behind Russell Wilson. All right, this stat was made a week ago, and I'm pretty sure it increased after this week. Murray has the most rushing yards and most rushing touchdowns in the league. And like I said before last week, I'm not basing this stat on one side of the stat line. I'm looking at everything. He's very speedy. You have to watch out for him when he gets out in space, and you got to watch out for him when he throws the football. Very accurate, and he's just a playmaker. And we just talked about how poor that defense is, and yet they do have a shot to win a division. I like what I'm seeing from Kyler Murray. You started off correctly, Zach, when you said whose world is this? This is Kyler Murray's world, and I do believe we're living in it right now.
What's the last 2 weeks been like? What's the difference in your eyes, pulling 2 games out close, late with the execution?
Just finding ways to win. And that's pretty much been it. Having great weeks of practices and following it up with, in-game performance. Coach preached about that, and just have to make sure we just keep doing that here moving forward.
The New England Patriots defeated the Baltimore Ravens 23-17. Are we buying that the Patriots are still legit contenders in the AFC?
Nah, not at all. I'm going to be honest with you. One thing I learned about Belichick, you could beat him once, but you're not going to beat him twice consecutively. Reason why I say that, last year when they played Baltimore, rush over 200 yards on this New England defense. This year, Belichick and company were able to maintain Jackson, only hold them guys to 17 points yesterday, which is, in my opinion, hey, it's way better than last year. But I feel like with the remaining games on the schedule, they're definitely not beating Arizona. They're not beating Miami. They're not beating the Rams, and they're definitely not beating Buffalo. So I think Buffalo's going to beat them twice. Miami's going to upset them in Miami. And like I said, Arizona urgency, I just feel like these guys, they won't give up. So I believe that Arizona could go to Foxborough and beat the Patriots. So in my opinion, I believe the Patriots will finish the season 7-9.
I gotta say this, Cam. I gotta say this. When we talk about legit contenders, I'm under the assumption that if you get to the playoffs, you can upset a few teams. And when I look at this Patriots team, I think they can do just that. I think if you're the Patriots and you get that last seed, let's remember they may be an extra playoff spot because of COVID. So you might have 2 extra playoff spots. I do believe when you look at the Patriots schedule next week, They go on the road to play the Houston Texans. That's a joke. Put the 5 on their record. That's 5-5. Let us remember the year they won the Super Bowl in 2001. Let's take a trip down history lane, ladies and gentlemen. They did win the Super Bowl with Tom Brady at 5-5, and Tom Brady was a quarterback. Obviously, he wasn't the GOAT that we know now. He was the baby Tom Brady, and they won the Super Bowl. So, look, the Patriots is that type of team where you may go into a matchup, want to play Connect Four, but you end up playing chess, because that's just how Bill Belichick works. He makes the game fit his style of what he wants to play. Last night, we saw a lot of creativity by Josh McDaniels. A lot of, option runs, or, Cam in space running for the touchdown. Jacoby and Myers do a touchdown. What's his guy? Burkhead. There we go. And you see a lot of that, and they obviously didn't have the better team than the Ravens, but they played the style that fit their style. It's like a boxer. You may have a certain style that you want to fight, and you make another fighter, the guy you going up against, make him fight your style of fighting. That's how I look at it with the Patriots. We saw it against the Bills. They made them, fight their style of fighting. They made it a running game instead of a passing game, which we know the Bills was more than capable of passing the football. It was a running game throughout. And I think that the Patriots, let's say they get a couple wins here, and they gain a couple, you gave it a little bit of momentum there. I do think Belichick will come up with a plan and give some teams some trouble.
Yeah, right now, I feel like when I look at this question, the only reason why I'm going to lean towards no is because of the other teams in the AFC, and especially in the wild card race, and just how good they're playing. I actually predicted correctly the Patriots to beat the Ravens last night. I didn't trust Lamar Jackson going on the road against the Bill Belichick coach defense in those kind of conditions. And I do think the Patriots do deserve some credit. Everyone is out here saying they had the worst skill position players in the league, but they could have easily went on the road to Buffalo 2 weeks ago and won. And I give them a legitimate shot here. Will, as you said, at Houston next week, that's a game they should win. Home against Arizona, I understand we just spoke a lot about Arizona and how impressive they are, but any young quarterback going up against a Bill Belichick coach defense on the road, especially for the first time, I give the Patriots a shot in that game. They then go to the Chargers, winnable game. At the Rams, you never know. At the Dolphins, home against the Bills, home against the Jets. So if they could keep this going, and maybe they are going to need some help along the way, I think if they get to the playoffs, I agree with you, Will. Belichick in a playoff game, that's a very scary sight. I just hope they could get there, because right now in the AFC, New England is 4-5. Cleveland is 6-3. They have a pretty favorable schedule going down the stretch. Tennessee and Indianapolis, you figure one of those teams is going to be fighting to get into the AFC wildcard picture. Miami, Buffalo, whoever doesn't win that division, and they're the Raiders as well, who are playing some really good football. So that you have so many teams here above 6 wins, and I feel like that's going to be the key for New England. They really have to win basically every game left, except for maybe 1 or 2, just to get into the playoffs. So with that being said, I think it's going to be too steep of a road, and I'm going to say I don't see them as a contender.
So before I get to my answer on the Patriots, listen, man, the Ravens, they dropped the 7th in the AFC playoff picture. They trail the Steelers by 3 games in that division. I don't think they're going to come away with the division. To me, if the Ravens don't do something with the play call on offense and turn things around, this is a fraudulent team. The Ravens' biggest issue was establishing scoring drives. You could say what you want when you look at the stats with Lamar, but the fact that they could not establish scoring drives on multiple chances and were forced to punt is a problem. They just couldn't get it done. And look, this is against a 31st ranked defense. I get it, Belichick's team, but there's no denying the lack of, not the lack of talent on defense, but they have a lot of injuries. They have players that opted out. You gotta, if you're a Ravens team that has so many good players at different positions and a rushing attack that ranks 5th in the league, you got to do more damage against this Patriots team. And also with the Ravens, let me finish this real quick. You look at the record-setting play that they once had, 20 or more points in 30 straight games. Didn't look like they did that at all yesterday after the way they played. November last year, Baltimore played 4 games. They put up 37, 49, 41, and 45. Greg Roman has to do something, has to dial up something with this offense for me before I can go ahead and say that the Ravens are in a good spot right now.
I would say this, Kenny C, and every point that you made is fair game. It's a fair point, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to denounce everything you said. But the Ravens are who they are. Me and Zach been on the front lines this whole season of In the Huddle and football season, saying that the Ravens should have made some moves at the trade deadline to boost that wide receiving core. They didn't. So are we going to sit here and still complain about the Ravens? No, they are what they are. They made their bed, and now they got to lay in it. And for example, hold up, Zach.
I don't think –
And to say that, they putting up 30, they didn't put up 35, 40. Ain't nobody was putting up 35 or 40 in the daggone typhoon yesterday.
I was making a comparison to how they once looked.
But
so now
the league is different. The league is better.
Adjusted to their offensive play style. They're stagnant as hell. You can throw whoever you want in there.
Surprised? That's what I'm saying.
Whoever you want in there.
The league is better.
You can throw whoever you want in there at wide receiver. But if their play call doesn't improve, they're too predictable. They're a run-first team. They're a run-heavy team. Lamar has to be more effective in passing for this team to be considered a top team. I had them at 3 in my power rankings not too long ago, and now this team's dropped out of the top 5 for me with this look.
Lamar said it himself. He said, wow, defenses are knowing our plays. So obviously it's like almost every week, every team's going to know, okay, what are Baltimore tendencies at this point? Mm-hmm. Run. After that, pass, play action pass. Lamar's going to try to find his tight end. If Lamar don't see his tight end, he's looking
for a defense that's so physical and aggressive, they let Damian Harris run all over them with a beat up chest and an ankle. Man, at 121 yards with an injured body. You can't have that if you want to be a top team in the AFC.
We know we all know this about the Ravens. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not disagreeing with you. It's like, why are we still bringing this up after New England? You know what I'm saying? Like, we all knew this was the issue.
My overall point is that I don't hold much stock in this win by New England just because of how the Ravens have played. I'm out on the Patriots.
This one more responds to what Will was saying about the Ravens and kind of the dynamic of their team. I feel like for me, when evaluating teams, right, the way I kind of do it is, let's just say I was a diehard fan of blank team. How would I feel about them, and how would I feel about their coach and their quarterback and all of their factors going in right now? And I feel like if I was a Raven fan, after the way last season ended with the disappointing loss in the playoffs, it's kind of what Kenny C said. You know, your expectation should have been to improve off of that and the failure in the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. And right now, if you're a Baltimore Raven fan, I don't know how you could look at.
But we know this already.
You're right there. You're right there.
We knew this already.
Wait, you're saying, but
that's a problem.
You're saying that, but like maybe you knew that, but there were plenty of people that were saying, you know, right now, I feel like before yesterday's game, everyone was predicting the Ravens to go into Foxborough and blow out.
That's because they don't know football. I know football. I've been watching the Patriots for over a decade. It's not going to roll over. You thought that the Ravens was going to go in there because they had more talent and push through them? It's the daggone Bill Belichick. Have we forgot? Oh, our brains brain dead? All right, are we brain dead? Like, it's the daggone Patriots, bro.
I get it, but
they won Super Bowls. They not just, let me lay down.
I get it, but
coming to town.
At the same time, though, how many people were
this
out?
This ain't the purge. They ain't hiding.
It happened last year, this time November.
Right, well, listen to me, though.
They were blanked by.
How many times have you heard over the last couple? Oh, the Patriots almost lost to the Jets.
Media. That's the media.
I get
Those
it.
who know football knew that the Patriots was going to make this a competitive game and might win it.
Right, let me ask you this, though. If you were a Baltimore Raven fan last night going into the game, your expectation should have been, we're winning this game no matter what.
Exactly.
Key exactly. Here. You're a Baltimore fan. You're going to think you're going to win the game because you're a fan of the team. Exactly. So come on.
But that's tough.
Because as a team, as a fan, you're like, all right, we can win this game. But take somebody that's not a Baltimore Ravens fan and that is a football historian. They should have known that this game was going to be competitive.
Okay,
had they picked the Ravens, maybe. But they didn't
think
they was going to go there and blow them out.
37-20.
I see what you're saying, but wait a minute. I see what you're saying, Will, but hold on a second. Even though this is Bill Belichick, even though it was in a monsoon, the Ravens going into the game were 6-2. If they lost this game, which they did, they know their chances at a division title are basically over.
Yeah.
Most people would say they have the significant talent advantage on
the
the
Patriots know if they lost this game, they would have been out of the playoffs. So I don't get your point. The Patriots had more to prove than the Ravens had more to prove.
I'll say this. Cam Newton had more to prove. Cam Newton had more to prove.
No, the Patriots had more to prove.
He's played like dog shit since he got COVID.
Who's he throwing the ball to? Who's he throwing the ball to? Jacoby Myers, a former quarterback, was the best wide receiver on the daggone football field.
That still does not discredit how you play as a quarterback.
Will, what is the point you're trying to make? Like, what's the overall point you're trying to make?
My point is I feel like y'all giving too much you're not giving too much respect to the Patriots. Y'all saying, oh, the Ravens, this and that. We know the Ravens is this and that. We've been saying it every week on this damn show. So why are we bringing it up again? We know it. The Patriots had more to prove to win this game. The Ravens lost.
4-5.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because the Ravens went 14-2 last year, were the #1 seed in the AFC, had the quarterback that won MVP, and had a really disappointing loss in the playoffs. So you're right.
A top 3 defense.
Right. We talked about this on a previous show, and we both already said it when Lamar Jackson came with his comments that this was not the same team. So why are we going back to that already? We already know they're not the same team. We beat that horse before.
It's the same exact team.
It is.
The Patriots had more to prove.
It's the same team. They're not playing well.
But
like I said, you beat Belichick once, but you're not going to beat him back-to-back. No. One thing about Belichick,
exactly. They beat them last year. You thought Bill Belichick didn't have film from last year's game if this is the same team that didn't evolve?
Right, but I'm saying,
come on.
Look, I'm saying this,
Thank you.
Why was all of America picking the Ravens to win the AFC North?
Because America was just going too much of popularity. They wasn't using their brain. That means I'm a smart guy. Because I picked the Patriots to win, and you said you picked the Patriots to win.
No,
so I don't give a hell what America thought.
At the AFC North before the season started, everyone was picking the Ravens to win that division. I'm sure you did too. Everyone was picking them to win the division.
True.
Okay, but we have a catalog that showed me why the Ravens are not that same team. My thing is, can we move forward? Can we? Why are we bringing stuff back? Like I said, the Patriots, it was more on the – we already know the Ravens' dysfunction. This was a game that the Patriots proved that they're still in contention. They still can make a little bit of a push. All right, that's what I'm saying.
But I don't – like I said,
Bill Belichick was not going to lose to him.
Because you're saying this is not the same Ravens team, that's why I don't hold stock in the win by New England. It's a good win, but the Ravens have not played well at all, especially offensively with Lamar. So I don't hold that much stock in the Patriots beating the Ravens in this game, because at the end of the day, they're still 4-5 in the AFC East.
But so that's the same team that came back from behind
because they beat the Ravens.
Colts. That's the same team that came back from behind against the Colts.
BS interception.
My thing. All right, but calls happen. That it is what it is. You still got to execute.
Let's not go there.
Execute.
Let's not
go there. Execute. Exactly. The ref didn't give them the game. They still had to score. My thing here is that we know Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick. When has the Patriots ever had amusing talent outside of 2007? All right, a lot of what Bill Belichick does is get you prepared for the game. All right, they never draft skilled wide receiver positions well. They never do. They turn wide receivers that were former quarterbacks into wide receivers, and they make it do. My thing here is that the Patriots, Bill Belichick, will always have his guys ready, and that's what Bill Belichick is known for, and it showed last night. Not to mention that the game was played in a typhoon yesterday, so the game definitely favored the Patriots because they're able to play smash mouth, one in the football.
The wind and rain was crazy.
Went off, kept Lamar Jackson on the bench. And we know this already. You keep Lamar Jackson on the bench. If they down from behind, they're not coming back. That's my thing. We know this same song with the Ravens. I learned something new about that Patriots team. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's my base of the argument. I already know what I know about the Ravens.
That they're a resilient squad. There's no doubting that.
Well,
I'm not saying they're not a resilient squad. My point was just that I just don't hold much stock into beating the Ravens because of the way they've played. I'm not discrediting Bill Belichick.
I hold a lot of stock because the game is all about momentum. They won 2 straight. Now, against the Jets, it wasn't pretty, but they still won. They won against a good Ravens team. Believe it or not, whatever you want to say, fair criticisms is all fair. But they still won against the Ravens. All right? So, momentum. You go on the road, you beat a Texas team next week, which you should be able to do. You're 5-5. You're on a streak here. All you got to do is win a couple more games, and you're over 500. And you're back in this race.
Right, but
that's all I'm saying.
But if you look at a couple things. You look at the big picture of the AFC and where everything's going right now. Even though you're right, they would be 5-5. I just don't know if that pace is gonna what do you think the Patriots' record has to be over their next 6-7 games in order for them to make the playoffs?
I'm trying to tell you.
Everybody else is gonna keep.
They have 7 games left. I think they need to go 6-1, right?
Nah, they're not going 6-1. 3 out of 7. They want to win.
But they would have.
That's what I'm saying, Cam. There's no way.
In order for them to make the playoffs, I just think they would have to go I would say 6-1 in that stretch, and that's with the 7th team. I just think also when you look at the game last night, we're concerned about Baltimore.
I think we forget that the Browns right now, the way they stand, I never trusted in the Browns. I think they could lose games that they're supposed to win. Hell, they barely beat the daggone Texans yesterday.
Yeah, they barely won out.
They barely scratched through that, and that's the daggone Texans. So who's to say they can't lose a couple more games and the Patriots get on a streak? Now, all I'm saying is that if the Patriots do get into the playoffs, and that is an if, I do think they can make noise. And like I said, this game showed me a lot because the Patriots was on a streak before. Let's not forget, Cam Newton is back, the Patriots, da-da-da. Then they lost a couple games. So after losing a couple games and winning this game, I find it hard to believe that you don't put no stock on the Patriots side when they were when they were barely beating the Broncos, when they was getting stomped by the 49ers, when they were looking like a shell of themselves. They won a big game. No matter what you say about the Ravens, that's still a good team with talent all across the board. They won that game.
One last point I'll make on this is that's what you just said about getting beat up on and barely winning games. During that stretch, Cam Newton didn't play his best football. So for me, another big question mark is if Cam Newton can play consistently. Because after COVID, bro, before he got COVID, he was lights out. And everyone was saying, yo, Cam is back, super Cam. And then he gets COVID, slowed him down, obviously. And he just did not play his best football. Last night was a bounce back game.
He didn't need to. He didn't need to. They won the Patriots.
But he needs to if they want to be a contender.
My thing is Cam, I'm going to let you get in here. My thing here is that the Patriots know what they are. One thing people need to understand in any field, in any job, is know who you are and be yourself. The Patriots know what they are by now. They know that they don't have skill positions at the wide receiver position, so they're not going to sit back, drop back, and pass, especially with Edelman being out. They're going to run the football with Cam and Damian Harris. That's their identity. And as long as they do that, accomplish that, and make the necessary stops on the defensive side of the football, that's when they're going to be fine.
But if they get stopped doing that, then Cam has to throw effectively.
And then we'll see what they draw up. You have a smart offensive coordinator that play to your strengths. They'll do a lot of trick plays, and that's what they will do. You have good coaching, and that gets you far, in my opinion.
Well, but I just want to know this: have Cam ever thrown over 200 yards this season?
Against the Seahawks, I believe.
Yeah, no, against Seattle.
Seattle. So that's the only time he ever threw over 200 yards. Yesterday, he only threw under $150. Like, bro, that's not. I understand it was raining yesterday or whatnot, but I feel like down the line. Right. It was my fault. But I feel like down the line, McDonald's got to open up.
To be effective.
Yeah,
you have to be effective.
I think one thing I realized watching the Patriots last Monday against the Jets, and, I think we're all going to laugh and say, oh, it's the Jets. But it's an NFL team, and it was a close game. The Patriots got the win. And I thought Cam looked as good as a passer in that game. That was as good as he looked as a passer since that Seahawks game. And I feel like last night, even though the numbers may not say it, he did build off that. He made some really nice timely throws, especially in early in the game. The Ravens went right down the field, scored a leadoff touchdown to go up 7-0 right off the bat, and he played well. So I think if you look at Cam Newton, the numbers don't say everything. I think Lil is right when he says, oh, the Patriots have a kind of specific formula they need to execute when they win. They have an identity, and I feel like last night they really did execute that to a perfection. Early in the game, they were able to ask Cam Newton to throw the ball and then milk the clock running in the second half. I don't think the Patriots even played that great in the second half. They just barely held on. But, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes, and if the Patriots are a legitimate contender, go on the road in not an easy environment next week and win at Houston.
Well said, Zach, because that's the thing right here is that everybody expect quarterbacks to throw for 300, 400 yards, and when they don't, they didn't look that great. You just play to your strengths. That's what the Patriots is known to do. And you said something about, all right, what happens when they stop the run? You have one of the best coaches ever in making second half adjustments. So why are we not putting – Bill Belichick forgot how to coach all of a sudden because of COVID? No. He didn't forget how to coach. Josh McDaniels didn't forget how to play call. They're going to be just fine. Like I said, it may not lead into a playoff berth, but I do think they're going to win a couple games and put themselves in a position where if they got in the playoffs, you don't want to see them, especially the Steelers, because the Patriots own the Steelers throughout the decade. Now, I know the Steelers has improved, but you can be a good team. We see it all time and time again, but you have a team that's your kryptonite. And can you battle? Can you win against your kryptonite? You have to see if that happens. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go.
Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go.
Gents, we're back in the huddle. Our next topic here: the LA Rams defeated the Seattle Seahawks 23-16. Looking at the NFC West, who do you think should be the favorite to win the division? I think that despite their inconsistent play throughout the season, the Rams showed yesterday that, one, their defense is no joke, and Aaron Donald, him alone on that defense, is going to wreak havoc. Best player in football as an overall athlete. Number two, when their offense gets going and is actually playing good football, aka establishing the pass and run balance, and the play action. Play action is one of their biggest attributes as an offense. They got a talented young backfield. If Goff is on his shit, they're going to be good to go. Higbee looked like a stud with Goff. Obviously, they got Kupp in there. So I like what I saw from their offense yesterday. They completely blanked Seattle in the second half. Seattle had no more points to put up on the board. They're stuck with their 13. The Rams kept their play call unpredictable, and I like the Rams' chances to take this division moving forward. I'm not high on Seattle, and the Bills pretty much had that game in the bag against the Cardinals. It was just took a miracle play at the end to win it. So I know I was very high on the Cardinals, but their defense has not played the best football. They allowed the Dolphins to drop 30 on their heads. And, I mean, Kyler Murray might end up being a similar tale to the Seahawks, where Kyler Murray has to keep you in games, similar to how Russ has to keep Seattle in games. So I don't know. The Rams, to me, coached by a great coach in this league in Steve McVay. So I think I'm going to rock with the Rams at this current point in time.
Yo, Kenny C, man, I'm not going to lie. Before heading on this show, I say at last night when we was getting the topics and I saw this topic, I was on my way of going with the Rams, right? And this morning, I was on my way with agreeing with you and going with the Rams. Mm-hmm. Then I said, let me take one look at something. Let me look at the schedule and let that be the determining factor for me because it was too close. Then I came across Seattle's schedule and I was like, yo, I'm not going to lie. This is easier than a fat kid at the daggone Carvel. You know what I'm saying? Or watching Marvel, whatever you want to say. I can tell, brother, Seattle will win this division. And I'm going to tell you all the reasons why. I know a lot on this show. A lot of people like to jump ship on this show. You know, I see it all the time. You know, 1 minute you're high on the team. The next minute they lose a couple games and you're off the ship before it burns or it sinks. Yada, yada. We know. It is what it is. But let me say one thing about the Rams. Granted, the Rams did play hell of a good defense yesterday. Jalen Ramsey put that boy DK Metcalf in check, made that brother his son. DK need to call that brother daddy because that's his father right there. He put him in check, okay? Only 2 targets throughout the whole game. 2 catches for 28 yards, should I say. 2 catches for 28 yards, 1 target in the first half. Russell wasn't even looking his way. But on the other side, Seattle is giving up a league worst 362.1 passing yards, and yet you only put up 23 and didn't look good in that 23. And that 22 that you put up, they didn't look spectacular against one of the worst defenses in history in football right now, at least. So there's a lot of questions for me offensively with the Rams, and that's one of the reasons why I ultimately decided to stick with the Seattle Seahawks. When you look at their schedule, they're the easiest out of the 3. The Seattle Seahawks, right? When you look at the teams that they're going to play, their opponents have a combined .377 winning percentage, which is a combined record of 24-40-1. The Seahawks' home games are against the Cardinals this Thursday, which they're more than capable of winning at home. They also play the Giants at home, 3-7. They play the Jets, 0-9. The Jets here at home, and the Rams at home, which they can win. The Seahawks' road games are against the Eagles, 3-5-1, Washington, 2-7. And the 49ers, 4-6. Those are your road games. I like the Seattle Seahawks chances because the schedule sets it up for them to make a run. And I don't think Russ is going to play any worse than these last couple of games he has been playing.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about the LA Rams is that last year, it's funny. Speaking of jumping ship, and we've spoken a lot about that so far, obviously, tonight. Last year, a lot of things went wrong with the Rams. Jared Goff was not very good, and there were a lot of people just really selling their Jared Goff stock. There were people saying, Sean McVay, has the league finally caught up to him? What were they doing trading away all their picks to get Jared Goff? And what were they doing signing Todd Gurley to that big contract? But all that being said, all that went wrong for these Rams last year. And still, they finished 9-7. It's not like it was a bad season. And this year, they've been pretty competitive in each and every game. And I'm actually going to be with Kenny C on this one. I think right now the Rams are the best team in the NFC West because Seattle, even though their defense, it sucks. I get it. Their defense was fine yesterday. I don't think their defense was really the reason why the Seahawks lost yesterday.
Yeah.
The reason why the Seahawks lost yesterday is because Russell Wilson played, again, for the second week in a row, what probably has been the worst game of his career. Let me ask you guys this. Besides quarterback, what does Seattle do well? And Will, I think this was to your point last week when you mentioned Russell Wilson and his MVP status. I feel like you were right in the sense that if you do take Russell Wilson off the Seahawks, that team cannot beat anyone. They're a bottom 5 roster in the NFL. And I feel like the reason why Russell Wilson is making all these mistakes is because he realizes that is really the team's only chance in order for them to win games, especially against good teams. I don't know how you could watch Arizona yesterday and say to yourself confidently that that team is better than the Rams. And it just comes down to this. The Rams play better defense, man. Brandon Staley coaching up that unit. Sean McVay got a lot of slack for letting Wade Phillips go, a very respected coach in this industry that has been around a long time. But this kid, Brandon Staley, he's a future head coach in the league. He's done an excellent job. As you said, Will, Ramsey shutting down DK Metcalf. Not anyone. It's not easy to do. Not anyone can do that. Donald getting the job done. Their linebackers are really solid. Hopefully, my only concern with this Rams team is Andrew Whitworth, their big left tackle, going down with a brutal injury. Hopefully, they could survive his loss because the offensive line, even though it has played much better as of late, that worries me a bit. But I'm a big Sean McVay fan. And I was really impressed with the Rams yesterday. I think right now you could make the argument that they have the best defense in the NFC. And, also with Jared Goff, if you give him a running game and time, he's fine. He's perfect.
Like I said, once the play action is established, Goff gets rolling. You can look at stats, but they're gonna move the football effectively.
Exactly.
I must say, man, I see that we have 2 Rams fans.
Who is it, Cam?
Who is it for me? You guys gonna be disappointed in me. I'm gonna have to go with the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, baby.
Only because I just love their urgency in the last minute of games, guys. Like, these guys, they don't give up. They want to make sure that they put themselves in some manageable situation to at least, win the game, tie the game, or kick a field goal or whatever. But honestly, I just love Kyler Murray, especially because his urgency is especially the final minute of yesterday's game and before that, he's driving the ball down the field. So it's not like, it's not like he will put his team in some tough situations down the line. And plus, Lil, I believe that the Cardinals has more winnable games than the Seahawks. They play the Giants, easy win. They play the Eagles.
Too.
Yes.
Seattle too.
Seattle, easy win. I believe that
have their number already.
Yes, I believe that they're going to beat Seattle.
No, I'm saying Seattle play those 2 teams too.
Right. Okay.
Giants and Eagles.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Arizona's going to go up to New England and upset New England in Foxborough. I'm telling you this right now.
You heard it here first.
That's not a given, though.
Yes. And against the Rams, because, they haven't played the Rams yet, I believe that
they twice. They played the Rams twice, too.
Twice, right. So I believe they're going to take 1 out of the 2.
Right. If you compare that matchup, I just think, right now, for me, as good as Kyler Murray is, who do you guys, as your coach, I just think Sean McVay is significantly better than Cliff Kingsbury.
I agree, but the Rams are too inconsistent offensively, and then when they look bad, they look bad. They got dismantled by the Dolphins. They lost to the Bills.
Well, let me ask
I'm just saying they offense look too inconsistent for me.
Right.
And in the regular season, you need to be able to put up some points. And like I said, the decision. Like I said, I don't hate the pick that y'all made because I told y'all before the show I was heading that Rams route too. But I just like the schedule. I think that when you talk about Giants, Redskins, Eagles, those are all winnable games. And you play the Cardinals at home. You can win that game at home.
Russell Wilson's inability in this game to get a touchdown with 2 interceptions.
But look, Russell Wilson been in this league. Russell Wilson been in this league forever. He had a bad stretch. Nobody's denying that. But to sit here and say Russell Wilson go all of a sudden turn into a trash quarterback for the rest of the year is obnoxious.
if Russell Wilson's playing bad football and you already have a terrible defense, then they're your savior who kept you in games last year.
But like I said,
He put
the
the team on
schedule.
his back in the fourth
The
quarter.
Redskins is terrible, right? The Redskins is terrible. The Eagles is terrible. They can win those games. The Giants is terrible. They can win those games. Those are 3 games right in the bank.
If Russell Wilson doesn't play well, are we sure those games are 100% locked?
Can I bring up history? Not history. Can I bring up what happened throughout the whole year? The Seahawks was 5-0 at one point. So Russ was doing it with that bad defense. He went through a little.
Progressively worse.
The defense was always bad. It was always bad. Jamal Adams was out. Jamal Adams is back in there. They're starting to get pieces back. Let's not forget their running backs have been out. When they start getting healthier towards the end of the year, it's going to help Russell Wilson.
Ever been healthy? Not in the last.
But don't just, you trying to pull the 4-1-1, right? When they come back, they're going to be available. So let's not call their future before it's over.
Marshall again. Marshall like him. Marshall.
They're going to get a running game. And Russell Wilson is not going to struggle as bad as he's doing right now. Yesterday was the worst game I ever seen Russell Wilson.
Right.
And I'm not expecting it next week.
Well, can I just ask you, besides quarterback, could you name one thing the Seahawks do well?
Like I said, so we just talked about
if you don't have
all the
Russ,
deficiencies
you don't
on each
have
team.
trust.
And that's my point. All these teams have deficiencies.
Dude, I got to be honest with you. You're out here saying that you're so concerned with the Rams' offense. I'm not. I feel like
I actually am. Like I said, Seattle's defense is so terrible, and they look sluggish yesterday. They didn't look great at all.
Bro,
they look funny. If you like average, if you're an average guy, then now I can understand why.
About with Cam Newton, though, I feel like if you have to evaluate every game on a base-by-base basis. And I feel like even though you can make the argument that the Rams' offense looked sluggish yesterday, okay, that's fine. I get it. But was there ever a point yesterday where you felt like the Seahawks were winning that game? Was there ever a point?
I'm telling you, I'm basically telling you right now, what did it for me, right? What did it for me is, number one, first of all, I don't think Russell Wilson forgot to play football overnight. This was his worst game before. I expect him to bounce back and play better. Obviously, the defense is a problem, right? And like I said, they're going to have to make a couple stops, but they will get back some running backs. When you look at their schedule, let's say they win against the Cardinals at home, which they are more than capable of doing. That will push them back up. That will push them back up into the mix. So now you're talking about momentum. You go on the road against the Eagles. Carson Wentz has been playing like dog shit. You win that game. You win against the Giants. You win against the Jets. That's 3-4 games in a row. That's momentum.
I get it. But here's my question, though. For you, right? Okay, you can make all the arguments you want. That I agree. I think Seattle on Thursday night, I'm with you. I think they're beating Arizona. I think Seattle's better than Arizona. And I think you could even make the argument that as a team, 1-53 on paper, they're better than the Rams. It's just the problem is, if you watch the game, Russell Wilson is very good, and he's very capable of leading them. But I think over the last couple of weeks, he's kind of been overwhelmed just because he knows if he doesn't make a big play, he's has a shot to win the game. And I think the Rams.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And I think the Rams are such a well-balanced team, man. That defense, no one in the NFC plays defense. We've been talking about, the Packers. I thought their defense at one point was good. The Bucs, I still think their defense is good, but they haven't shown up, that consistently over the last couple of weeks. There are not many teams across the NFL that play defense. And the Rams, with that defense being led by those two monsters in Donald and Ramsey.
You're missing my point. You know that, right? You kind of missing my point.
But here's the thing.
Right now, you're looking at on the field. Let me finish this point. I'm done, and y'all could go ahead however y'all want. My last point is, I just want to make my point clear to Zach and the rest of y'all. If y'all not understanding where I'm coming from, y'all looking at which team is better on paper, and it's fine. I can agree with the Rams. I ain't pulling up Seattle's schedule right now. And the hardest game that they have left on their schedule is when they play the Rams again at home.
Right, but
I'm saying those are wins in the win column. You can't control what the Rams is doing. They got to play the Bucs. That could be an L.
Okay, I get it, but here's my thing, though. I think Seattle, 1-53, is so bad that if they're – we've seen Russell Wilson over the last couple of weeks not play well. And I'm not – you're right. He's Russell Wilson. He's a great player, and he's going to play better. I get it. I just think, though, there are going to be so many times, no matter who they play, the Jets, whoever, where in order for them to win that game, they're going to need Russell Wilson to pull a rabbit out of his hat because the rest of their team isn't good enough to do it. And at some point,
it's still the Eagles, though. It's still the Eagles.
Wait, hold on.
You don't need to do too much.
No, Will, I'll tell you right now. At some point, that's going to cost Seattle. And I think eventually the Rams are so much more well-balanced and so much they're better coached right now. They have a better defense something's going to go wrong for Seattle for that whole pyramid to fall. And Will, I'm telling you, in the next 7 games, Seattle will go 4-3, maybe 5-2 at best.
You out of your mind. You didn't smoke something before you came on the show. You out of your mind. You out of your mind, bro.
No,
you out of your mind. Redskins, the Eagles, the Giants, and you talk about 3 out of 4?
Yes.
What are you on, Zach?
Wait, I don't
on?
Wait, I don't.
Zach,
wait, how many times have we seen? Dude, we saw the Jaguars almost beat the Packers yesterday.
What are you
Anything
on?
can happen.
Anything can happen. That is.
Y'all gonna come in here. Time out. This how lame y'all are today. Y'all gonna come on this show and say anything can happen. That's your excuse. All right, anything can happen. The Rams can lose. Anything can happen, right?
No,
if you're gonna use that great line, anything can happen. We in a pandemic. Anything can happen.
I am not saying anything can happen for no reason. I'm saying anything can happen because besides quarterback, the Seahawks are a 4-12 team, bro.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
If Russell
And anything
Wilson,
can happen because the Rams offense cannot score with anybody.
Listen, if Russell Wilson doesn't show up and
they still have to play the Cardinals twice, you know. They still have to play the Cardinals twice, you know.
In the game.
The Rams still have to play the Cardinals twice. And they got to play the Bucks.
Okay,
they can lose 2 out of those 3. They can win 1. They can split with the Cardinals.
Tell me what we want. The Rams. Okay, that's fine. I just think right now, significantly, the Rams are a much better team than the Cardinals. It's not even.
Okay, but that's not how I'm looking at it.
I'm looking at one game against Seattle and say that, the Rams offense looks stagnant.
Okay, let me see if you understand what I'm saying. Because Kenny C and Zach is not understanding. I know you went with the Cardinals. I know you went with the Cardinals. But Cam, do you understand my point? Do you understand my point and why I'm picking Seattle? Yes, the Rams may be better on paper, but the Rams have a harder route to win that division than Seattle does.
But outside of Russell Wilson,
I have no right to say that. Wow, I'm looking at the schedule. Bro, do I need to read the records to you again? Do I need to pull up the records for these teams that Seattle's playing?
Wait,
bro, he want me to read the records. I'm gonna read the records. I'm gonna read the records to you. I got you right now. The Eagles are 3-5-1. They lost to the Giants. They lost to the Giants. Washington is 2-7. The 49ers are 4-6. Don't have a quarterback. Those are 3 wins that you can put in the back. The Jets are 0-9.
I'm gonna say
that's a win. I don't care if Russell has a blindfold on.
Rams play the Niners
hold on a second. You can write
those are wins.
You can write
those are wins.
Okay, you can say that all you want, bro. But all I'm gonna say is, yesterday I thought the Packers Jaguar game. I thought that was a given win for the Packers. And once again, I'm not saying this for no reason. I just think right now, if you compare Seattle at every position outside of quarterback to all of those teams you just named, the Giants, the Eagles, the Washington football team, whoever it is, you could give me all of the teams. I don't think the difference outside of quarterback between Seattle and, I'm going to tell you right now, bro, I'm going to take the Giants running back to safety over the Seahawks running back to safety right now. I saw the Giants play a really good football game yesterday. Hold on. I think the Giants.
I want to bring up a point.
Go ahead.
And let me know what you think about this. Wasn't this the same Seattle team last year? Obviously, Jamal Adams wasn't there before, but I know that defensive line was suspect. I know that secondary was suspect. Didn't this team get to the divisional round last year and lost to your Packers? Can you see almost made a comeback and beat your Packers? Could have got to the NFC Championship game.
Who kept in the game, Leo? Who kept in the game? Russell Wilson.
Okay, isn't Russell Wilson still on that team right now?
The only guy that
isn't Russell Wilson still in that team right now?
Just
because somebody goes through a
broad point. If Russell Wilson does not play well in that game, they get blown out.
So what are you saying? Russell Wilson is going to continue to struggle? That's your point? That's what you're trying to imply to me? So you're trying to imply to me. So Zach and Kenny, basically what you're implying to me is that Russell Wilson is going to have more games like he did yesterday. And if you think that, then that's fine. I can see your argument. But it's not going to happen. That's what I'm here to tell you.
I'm saying.
That's what you're basically saying because you're saying that he has to cook in order for that team to move forward. He's been cooking. They've been.
I'm saying this. Seattle puts so much on Russell Wilson's back.
This was happening for the last 3-4 years.
It doesn't happen.
The last 3-4 years.
Hold on.
The last 3-4 years.
They lost to the Cowboys and they lost to the Packers in a divisional round.
Bro.
They have nothing to go for it.
That's what's going on. They put the load on Russell Westbrook after that, Legion of Doom. Once that Legion of Doom assimilated, Legion of Boom, whatever, it became the Legion of Doom because they were doomed. Russell Wilson has always carried this team. It's at a point right now where he's going through a little spell right now where he struggled. And I'm not denying that. He has been struggling. But my thing here is it always starts with a win. It always starts with a win against a rival opponent that can get you back on your tracks.
And they
If
called
they win
an
on
L to
Thursday
their
night
rival opponent.
if they win,
But Will,
Zach,
let me ask you
Kenny C, right, like I said, if they win against the Cardinals Thursday night, a big game, a team that beat them before, that could give them the momentum to take on an easy schedule that they have, win a
Right,
couple
but
more games,
If
and
lose
keep
that
in there.
game,
Wait,
what
wait,
happens
that's
if
all
they
I'm saying.
lose?
Let me explain it like this, bro. Okay, here's what I'll say.
I'm done because we gotta go to another news, so I'm finished. But you can go ahead.
Okay, I'll just make this last point. We discussed this a lot, right? So in the NFC West, I actually think on Thursday night, Seattle is going to beat Arizona. I'm agreeing with you on that. I like Seattle to win that game. My only thing is this. Right now, if you look at it, right, I think Seattle's going to win that game on Thursday night because, one, if you want to make the argument they're the better team, it's very hard to beat a team twice. They're at home, division game, they need it. Arizona coming off a big emotional win. Okay, you can make all those points. And I'm agreeing with you. I think Seattle beats Arizona on Thursday night.
So you telling me the Cardinals are better than the Jets, Redskins, and Eagles that they got on their schedule, that they could beat the Cardinals and can't beat those teams?
Here's where you're missing me. I just think kind of where we're going our separate ways here is that you're kind of taking it like, okay, Seattle is going to beat Arizona. Okay, so that means there is no way they lose to the Giants. There's no way they lose to the Eagles. There's no way they lose to the Jets. I'm saying that Seattle is so bad outside of their quarterback that I'm going to pick them to beat Arizona because it's a big game. I expect their quarterback to rise up and do what he usually does. So I'm agreeing with you there.
Hold on.
But I'm
My
taking
last
it
point.
Against the Rams, what makes you think against Arizona?
Hold on, but I'm taking it as a week-to-week basis.
But
It's a
my
big
last
difference.
point.
But it's a big difference playing Thursday night against the Cardinals at home in a game you need to have and a game at the New York Giants or at the Philadelphia Eagles at 1 o'clock. You know what I mean? It's
Who was
every
the three
game
losses for Seattle, first of all? The Bills, excellent team. The Rams, yesterday, excellent team. And the Cardinals, excellent team. So that shows you that they may not be capable of beating the great teams. But once again, as I look at that schedule, there's not many great teams on the remaining schedule. And they lost 3 games to 3 great teams. So that means that all the rack teams that they played this year, they won. So I have the stats to back up my argument. So we just have to see how it plays out.
We're talking
because
about the
3
division.
games,
The
Cardinals,
that's
Bills,
valid.
Rams. Those
That's
are 3
valid.
great teams. They have the Eagles, the Giants, the Jets, and the Redskins. Let's see what they do with that. I want to say once again, guys, it's always a pleasure talking sports and getting into heated debates. I love it, and it makes me look forward to coming back to the next episodes that we do record. And, you know, great show today. Great show today.
That being
At
said,
the end of the day, man, you know, the viewers see the heated debates. We're all still good friends. We keep
Yeah.
it classy at the end of the
all
day.
love. All love.
Especially me and Will. You know,
Oh, yeah.
We keep it heated. We keep it heated.
Now, I know
You know,
people that
over
watch.
the last couple of months, Will and I, you know, we've had our fair share of debates. So I think if we're still doing the show right now, we're in pretty good shape. You know,
Yeah.
That's a fact. That's a fact. We speak our mind. We speak our mind, Zach. You know, me and you, one thing I'll say about myself and you is when we have our mind made up, we have our mind made up. And that's why we debate a lot, I believe.
no doubt, man, no doubt. I love it.
With that being said,
All right,
ladies and gentlemen,
fellas.
make sure that you guys wear your masks, stay safe out there, and we will
Like
see
the
you.
video. Like the video. I don't care about the mask. If you want to do that to yourself, do that to yourself. Like the video, subscribe, and comment. That's all I care about. You feel me? Let's get it.
All right, boys, have a good one. I'll see you guys later.
All right, fellas.